just my luck. Carolyn and I never ever go anywhere except maybe to the grocery store, to Walmart, or go get propane or something like that. We went out yesterday, met Russell Crowe, and the first thing he did was slap me across the face. I'll show you all that in a minute, but I wanted to go ahead and do my daily video today and talk about some stuff. And so yesterday I talked about chickens, and I wanted to follow up with that in a little bit, but I wanted to show you what Carolyn did yesterday. She got the porch cleaned up from the winter grind. During the winter, this collects a lot of things because there's a lot of things out here that we use in the spring and the summer that we don't use during the winter. Or we use these like feeding trays, so they sit out here. But she got it all cleaned up. Right now she's cooking her hard-boiled eggs. When we get too many eggs, we start eating these for snacks in the evening time. As you know, Carolyn and I have been trying to put this chicken run together as cheaply as possible, because I think that's the part of the minimalistic life. You reuse and repurpose things that you've already got. So as you may remember, before we built that porch roof, I had a family member come up and give us one of those outdoor canopies that you take camping or maybe to the flea market. When we built the roof, we had nothing to do with the canopy. So Carolyn said, well, why don't we use it as a chicken run? Well, at the time we were using PVC pipe and we were just kind of moving it around, but we brought it down here and it worked great. So for a pretty low price, we were able to find some more of these. So I bought 2 more. That gives us 300 square feet of chicken run. And it's worked out really well, except the canvas tends to wear out pretty fast. So just by chance, just because it looked nice, we got this big white tarp. And the white tarp has not degraded in the sun. It's just a regular white tarp off Amazon. I don't know, like rhino tarp or something. And so this has worked really well. So much so that I went ahead and covered the old truck camper with it because the truck camper roof was starting to leak. So instead of fixing the leak, I just thought, well, I'll get a smaller one. So we put it on top of the truck camper. But I didn't have enough tarp to do all 300 square feet. So Carolyn wanted to put this mesh around it. I don't even know what it's called. It's just a mesh, and it works pretty good. Of course, the rain comes through it, but it keeps the birds out. And that was kind of key. But I thought it was okay to do here because we also have coroplast cover. And they go underneath that, and they feel sheltered and protected underneath that. Even though they have all the shelter already, if there's a bird of prey that come out, they'll all run into this. Which is kind of unfortunate because when we have young chickens, we close this up and just use it for the young chickens. So the big birds don't get to use it during the spring and the summer. But in the wintertime, in the fall, they use it plenty. And then of course we have our chicken coop that I made out of some metal that you can buy at Home Depot. It's pretty cheap, I think $9 a sheet. Of course, it's covered up with a tarp right now because of wintertime. We're just coming out of winter, but this is the metal. We used to have windows in this thing, and you may remember that Thanksgiving, we had 9 chickens killed by a dog. The dog ripped off the windows. So I just covered it back up with metal. He won't be able to get back into it now. And then we have this IBC tank that we raise the little chickens. So they come out of the house about 8 weeks old, and then they go into this. 150 square feet are for the big chickens, 150 square feet are for the little chickens, and they all have their own home. That way, the big chickens won't terrorize the little chickens while they're getting bigger. Now, it's still pretty mean when you finally do integrate them. Even if the chickens, the baby chickens, are full grown, when you integrate them with the big chickens really beat on pretty bad. I thought it was kind of interesting. We had the Brahmas, and Brahmas are big. The male got up to 15 pounds. And we had an Americana who was older, but much smaller. And the Americana was just beating all over those Brahmas when they were finally integrated. So it's about age, not so much size. At least my experience. Somebody else might say no scientifically, but my experience, that's what I've seen. Down the IBC tank, we ran sticks through it, tied it up with a string, so that stick goes all the way through. That gives them a roost to sit on. There's a hole in the bottom of this. It sits right on the ground on the IBC tank, right at the bottom. And then all I got to do is just move the IBC tank, and then I can kind of lift it up on blocks, and I can scrape out the droppings right out of that hole, wherever I want it. I just move the IBC tank to wherever I want it. It's light enough, and I can just take that shovel and scrape it right into that hole down at the bottom. But that hole doesn't let anything in, doesn't let anything out. You could cover it up with a screen, I guess, or something. And then when you wanted to scrape it out, just remove that screen, but that just make it that much more nasty. And then you take a hose and you spray it out. This is easy to keep clean. This is not a food grade IBC tank. This had some sort of fiberglass paste, paint, something. I mean, it smelled like paint. And it was all dried up in there. And we had to get that all cleaned out. And it stunk pretty bad. And we were worried that the chickens were going to suffer from it. But they did okay. And now it's all aired out. It's no big deal. And then in the front of this IBC tank, we just cut a hole. And then I got this little screen thing that I just put up there at night. They'll go in on their own. I put it up there, and I put a block in front of it. Keeps everything out. Kept the possum out last summer. I think it was last summer we had a possum. He was not able to get in the IBC tank. And the IBC tank is the reason we have any chickens at all. Remember, the dog killed all our big chickens out of there in November on Thanksgiving. But they weren't able to get into this thing. So it's a good cheap method. You can pick these up pretty cheap. $75 or so. Now Carolyn has decided that she wanted to work on a project all by herself. She doesn't want anybody's help. She won't ask her son for help. She won't ask me for help. This has been her project. The only thing I did was drag these back up here. So a few years ago, I was going to build a pole barn, kind of cover the wood. So I was cutting these down. Now, I didn't cut these down because I wanted the pole barn. I cut them down so we could have sunshine on our solar panels. All this here was grown up. It's still grown up, but imagine a bunch of trees here, and it was all blocking the sun. So we cut all the trees down and all the cedar trees, and of course we got the firewood from the regular trees. The cedar trees have too much sap in them, so you can't use that for firewood, but they preserve so well. Cedar just doesn't rot. My grandma built her log home out of cedar. Now, people actually argue with me about this. It's funny. I was in 8th grade when she did this. Well, 8th grade when I got mostly involved. But she cut down the cedar trees herself. I helped. Well, Grandpa helped also. Then she let them dry out for a year or two. And then I debarked all them cedar trees. And she built a log house. Not a cabin, a house. It was multi-bedroom, multi-level. There was 3 stories, a basement, first floor, second floor. It was cedar trees. So people are gonna say, no, it's pine or oak. It was cedar. So, but Grandma built a lot of things out of cedar, all kinds of pole barns. Carolyn saw on YouTube or something that somebody had built some sort of thing that she liked, and she wanted to duplicate this. So when I cut these down, I drug them down into the woods. All you gotta do is take a tow strap, wrap the tow strap around this, lift it up, and then on the back of my lawnmower, I have a bucket carrier. It literally carries a bucket. I'll walk over there, and you just pull that log up to the bucket carrier, and then my lawnmower pulls it up out of the hill, out of the woods. Now, I will tell you, my lawnmower wouldn't be able to do half the work it can do now if it wasn't for the chains on the tires. So this, it's bent a little. It shouldn't ride up that high. It got bent, I backed into a tree. So, but this carries a bucket, 50 pounds of weight. So I just lift that back into that log up, that tree, whatever you want to call it, tie the strap around this. And so now your log is, the other side is dragging on the ground. This side's up, and the lawnmower just pulls it right out of the woods. But these chains make all the difference in the world. I haven't gotten stuck since I put these on. Now, we live on a huge hill. Anytime I was in reverse, this thing would get stuck before I put the chains on. But like I said, now I don't get stuck at all. So I just leave them on. A lot of people say, oh no, you're gonna tear up your yard. Well, I mean, we live out here in the country. I'm not here to have a manicured lawn. I'm out here to live free, and I sure do like those. So that makes cutting grass so much easier. It actually saves time. She's building this, I guess it's pole barn, I don't know. So what she's gonna do is she wants to tie the fencing and everything up to these poles. What happened was she wanted this raised up. It used to be just 3 feet off the ground, this high. And so you had to bend over to get in there. But the nice thing about that is if it snowed, it would hold a considerably more amount weight than it does when it's up in the air. The shorter it was, the stronger the poles were. Well, now it's higher up in the air. The poles bent pretty quickly this last winter. So she's taking these logs and she's putting them in here. Of course, she's making some lattice work. So you can see here, some lattice work. And then she tied it up to a fence post so it doesn't go anywhere. She's got blocks down here. Now her idea is she's going to grow something here, something the chickens can eat. So she'll grow that in the blocks, and then she'll have this. I guess she'll have another bar coming across here, and she'll tie all this up. So she's pretty excited about this. I've never seen her think so hard about something, but she's really trying to think this through. I say think so hard, that was a bad thing to say. I've never seen her work on a project like this and then try to think of the next step. And I did that a lot when I was building a house. Always thinking in and constantly, it just drives you nuts. This is all the poles that she's got available. We got another one laying over there where I showed you where I cut them all down at. I got to get that one out of there. That's a big trash pile. Metal and glass, sharp objects. So the only way I'm going to get that one out of there is to drag it out myself. And there's sticky bushes. Yes, I'm complaining a little. So I told you that we met Russell Crowe yesterday, and first thing he did was slap me like I was some sort of jerk. Yesterday, I told you we were going to get a rooster. Found one for $15 and had to go get him. I'll put an up next box to yesterday's video at the end of this video so you can watch it. But in yesterday's video, I was telling you that our rooster got so big, 15 pounds, that when he jumped down from the roost, he broke his leg. So we couldn't keep him. So he was a Brahma, the one we had. Well, we decided since then that we want eggs, not meat, because Brahmas are a meat bird, but they don't produce a lot of eggs. So we were looking for the Leghorns and different things. So we kind of changed our mind. I mean, it was a good thing. I mean, I hate that he broke his leg, so when I say this, please forgive me. But it was kind of a good thing that he did get sick and injured or whatever, so we could rethink what we were doing, and we decided we just wanted egg birds. Now, I can't tell you, I forget what the breed that is, but right there, that black chicken is the rooster. The people named him Russell Crowe. So they wanted me to get him out of their cage because this is the first time they've ever had to deal with chickens. They ordered just females. They live in a fairly populated area by a lake. And I guess the neighbors were complaining about this rooster. So they ordered females, but that's not 100% accurate. When you order chickens, you'll still probably get one. So what happened was, let's say they ordered 15 chickens. They sent 16. The hatchery always sends a couple extra. So they sent one extra, and it happened to be a rooster. So they wanted to get rid of it. Now, they made us promise that we weren't going to eat it, but we're not going to eat it. He is going to breed these chickens. I guess once he gets settled in, he's not crowing real strong yet. He's probably not old enough. He's probably still a little immature. So hopefully by May, he'll be mature enough that he'll be mating with these chickens. Now, they said he was mating with their hens. He hasn't touched ours yet. Of course, this is all new to him. It was kind of neat when he showed up. He came over, they all ran into the chicken coop. They didn't want anything to do with him when he first, I mean, they didn't even look at what he was. They just knew there was something strange in here, so they all ran in here. He marched around for a second or two, found the food, started eating, and then they all started coming out. And like I said before, one of the small ones, it was one of the brown ones, came over and pecked him, immediately getting that pecking order established. I found that interesting that they were pecking a rooster. So Russell Crowe, when I picked him up, he slapped me right in the face. I mean, that was the first thing he did, just bam. It's the first time I've ever been hit that by chicken in the face. Usually by the time I got them up, I got their wings pinned, but it kind of smacked. So it was embarrassing. you try to go in there and you try to not to hurt the chicken, and you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of people you've never met before. So hopefully he'll get acclimated and he'll start breeding with them. But at least he's mixing in and mingling in a little bit. All morning he's been in the coop. He hasn't come out. So I'm actually lucky he's out while making this video. So if you'll click this up next box, take to a video where I was talking about these chickens. So I hope I can inspire you to do things as cheaply as possible so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.